Dale mentioned earlier, one piece of real estate, if you buy the right one, can retire you. This probably is that deal, okay? He started out young, so we'll just go ahead and bring him up. Chris, come on up. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you joined Lifestyles.
Yeah, so I'm Chris Funk, born and raised in Houston, 43 years old, and I listened to Dell on the radio all the time. I worked as a general contractor after I dropped out of school, and I listened to Dell on the radio to and from work for years and years. And when you remember, Dell's poop bladder, I was at the bottom of it. I was I was eager to get out of the mess and move up. And the one thing that kind of struck me about real estate was if I could learn the multifamily business model or even just the single family business model, you can go as high as you want, kind of like they talked about earlier. It would be the last career I ever needed, the last skill I ever needed to learn. And I saw and always heard about Dell talking about the progression of a real estate investor and how you could move from, one single family home all the way up to owning multiple apartment buildings. So the reason I joined was I wanted to learn the multifamily business model. I've been kind of tinkering around with houses and joining other groups and learning from other investors. And I'd done a few deals. I did some houses, remodeled some houses, sold them for a profit, bought a few houses as rentals. But I think it was when I was at the car show with my dad and my brother, and we were walking around, and I had this Bluetooth in my ear back in like 2007, 2008. And it was like every 15 seconds, my phone would ring, and I would say, yes, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and the deposit is $750 a month. The rent, yep, and it's $35 deposit. Thank you. Click. And then it would just repeat over and over and over all day long. And my dad looked at me, who was my partner on these houses, and he says, "This is what you have to do to lease a house?" He was shocked. And I said, well, it's the way I do it. I later found much better ways to do it. But what I wanted was to get into the multifamily so I could make more money, and I wouldn't have to always be like on call, like looking at my phone, wondering, is that gonna be a deal? Is that gonna be a tenant? And so I wanted to have that kind of staff under me where there was a little bit of a buffer between the business, the customers, and me, where I could go ride my mountain bike or, do something fun. So, and I had a lot of goals, and I still have a lot of goals outside of real estate. And I think probably a lot of the members do really well at the lifestyle, but I think that's one thing that I've done extremely well is design a life outside of real estate that's a lot of fun. And you probably notice my trucker tan. It's not from sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours a day. I spend a ton of time doing all kinds of other activities. So
very good.
I was borrowing money from a guy to do house flips, and we were talking one day, and the bank that he had a good relationship with was in bad shape on a bunch of multifamily properties. They'd foreclosed, and so we went and talked to him. I said, I'm interested. I don't have the money to do that, but you do. You've got the relationship, the credit. So we started looking at deals, and we stumbled across what I now call Whitney Heights. I've renamed it. What this is it's kind of a hybrid. It's a really neat deal. It's extremely ugly. It's kind of weird. It broke all the rules, but it kind of grew into itself, a lot like me. It kind of cleaned itself up over time, and I love it now. So what this deal was it was a group of 70 single-family homes on one big plot of land with one water meter, individual electric, individual gas. So it operates like an apartment building. It's got a leasing office up front, but they don't have shared walls. They're little individual structures, and they're on 4 streets. So we went out and looked at the property, and it was in shambles. It was in terrible shape. It was 25% occupied. I said,
so this is what we call a value play, and Dell will explain that to you this weekend.
Yeah, it was gnarly.
Gnarly is a word. You can write that down too. It's a word of the day. Gnarly.
Yeah. Some great hoarder pictures. I don't have a picture of it, but this was the best thing in the world. I said, take me to the worst unit.
I'm sorry to interrupt this great story, but there's only some opportunities in life to teach, and I'm going to be dead soon, so I got to take one. Okay? Answer this question. The day you bought it, did it cash flow?
No.
All right. All you members that have been here forever, I told you tonight I was going to eliminate a word from our vocabulary. What is it? This is not a hybrid.
No.
This is a value play.
Deep.
Are you with me? Say yes, I got it, Del. All right, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Deep value play. So they take us to the worst unit, and there's police tape all over the door. It looks like a crime scene, and it's all blacked out on the inside, like it's been charred. It looks like the whole thing got set on fire. It burned all the way through the sheetrock, insulation, rafters, and roof to where you could see the sky from the living room. But the couch was perfect. Well, it wasn't perfect. It was disgusting. But the couch was not burned. And I'm looking at, I'm like, that couch is burned. Everything in this room is charred. And the guy said, yeah, they came back. I said, who, the tenant? He says, well, they were in here just, smoking and having fun, and they had their girlfriends over. And anyway, after the fire was put out, they came back. So that they brought their couch back.
Very nice.
So this
that was your original inspection on the 70
That
years.
was my original inspection. Okay. The bank had hired the HPD officer to sit in front of it 24 hours a day so that people wouldn't rip out more of the copper wiring and the copper plumbing.
Okay, again, we call this a value play, a deep value play, and Dell's going to go over this, so exactly what that means.
So after working for a general contractor for a year, I think the very first job that he threw me into was a burned down apartment building. I was like, so this is fine. Like, yeah, this is good. This is great. Like, when can we start? So we had to finance it.
So you purchased it, right? You purchased it in 2011 for $1.8 million. That was your purchase price, right?
Yeah.
And you said that you got it. It was a bank REO, meaning they had repossessed it.
Right.
Okay. And you had that relationship with the bank, so that's how you and your partner found it.
Right.
You went to them and told them what you were looking for, or?
No, they just had a PDF. We said, hey, we're looking to make money,
Okay.
Heard you had apartments, and they had a list.
Okay.
And we just started looking at the list.
Okay.
And we identified this property.
Very good. So Della is going to go over this weekend how you find deals and things like that. Real estate agents is one, but basically if you have a relationship with a bank, went to the bank, tell them what you want. You'd be surprised where your deals will come from if you just tell anyone and everyone what you're looking for. Your plumber, your electrician, your church people, your banker, everybody. It's amazing where your deals will come from. So if you're interested in real estate, figure out what type of real estate you're interested in and tell the world, and it will come. Okay, so it was the bank. So the bank did the initial financing for you. They
did.
Okay, and so how much did you have to put down?
So I actually put nothing down on this deal.
Nothing down.
Nothing down. Like I said, it's a weird deal. It broke all the rules. The banker probably got fired. Well, he did actually leave the bank, and then the bank went out of business. Imagine that. The bank with all the foreclosures went out of business. For owner financing, their own foreclosures with nothing down at 2.9% interest fixed for 5 years, and then with a cap of 4.5 for the next 10, and then like a cap of 6 for the remaining 30-year loan or something. It was a sweetheart, like unbelievable loan. But the reason why is the bank thought we can still sell it at this high inflated price if we give them these sweetheart terms. And I was a 29-year-old kid at the time. I didn't care. I just wanted the chicks to think I was cool because I did real estate. And the chick's here. She does think it's cool. It worked. It totally worked. She's still here 8 years later. So.
Well, I mean, you made millions, so yeah, she's going to be it.
Yeah. Now I am a cool guy. So I, back of the napkin math, we're like sitting at this Mexican food place eating, and I was like, well, okay, so we like this one. How many of them are there? Well, there's 70. All right, well, what do they pay? 600. Okay, 42. I figure half that goes to run the place, so that's 21. And my partner, I was like, what do you want to make? He said 5. I said, great, I'll make 5. So tell the bank we'll pay 11. He's like, 11 what? I said, $11,000 a month is what we'll pay them. If they want to do $1.1 million at 12% interest only forever, that's fine. If they want to do $1.8 million for 2.9% interest for 30 years, that's fine. As long as the payment's 11, we both get 5.
Okay, but you said you put 0 down. This place is completely kind of dilapidated. You're going to have to put a ton of cash in there. Where'd you get that cash from?
That was the other problem. That was his question to me. And I said, well, I mean, we don't have the money for the place, and they're giving us the money for the place. Why don't they just give us the money for the rehab, too?
Why not?
He said, well, I'll ask. That's kind of crazy, but, I like James, and we go to the Unmentionable Club quite a bit, so I'll just mention it to him next time we're out. And so, they said, yeah, well, we could probably do that too. And then the next question was, well, hold on, I don't have any money to pay the 11 yet, and there's only like 18 people here. And I don't think that's enough to pay the 11 either. And I said, well, they're going to give us the money to buy the place and fix the place. Why don't they give us the money to pay for the place?
Exactly.
Until the place can pay for itself.
Yes. And you guys are saying, wow, this is never going to happen. This is what banks do, okay? They will lend you the proceeds, they will lend you the rehab, and they will lend you the carrying cost until you get it rebuilt to where it needs to be, that it's cash flowing. Yeah. And then you start cash flowing, and then you're on terms. So banks do lend on exactly this type of asset. It's called a deep value play. They do it, and they will start doing it again. Some of the banks are getting real cautious now because of where we've been, but they're starting to get a lot of these repos are going to start coming in, and that's going to start coming in more. So you're going to start to see these deals again. Yes, sir.
All right, I've got to step in here on this because I was around when this deal went down. So there's a little bit of reality you have to. They will do all that they just said, but in this particular case, that he was sold the property at almost double what it was actually worth on the street at the time.
Maybe more.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I just want to make you understand that so you don't get this. Remember what I said? In a value play, we steal it. You understand? But in this particular case, they took the terms over the price. I'd have done a deal like this back at that time on this particular deal. I would have bought this property for $5,000 a door, not $30,000 a door.
7 was my number, so you're right on.
Okay,
yeah.
So 7, you follow what I'm saying? Yep. That's what it really was worth. They charged him 30, but they financed everything. Do you understand? So they thought, I'm going to keep a bigger number on my books as a bank for this deal. And it's not going to look bad to the people, my bosses, looking at it. Do you follow what I'm saying? I didn't sell it for the 7 that he was willing to give me, or 5 that Dell would have been willing to give me, because that would have looked bad to me. I just refinanced, repackaged it, and turned it back into a $1.8 million asset on our books. Are you with me? So do these things work? Do they happen? Yes. Come this weekend. I'm going to show you how to figure out the numbers. Wouldn't it be nice to have been able to identify what I just identified and to know what would work, what wouldn't work, and what angles? Do you follow what I'm saying? He worked it very wisely from his point of view. I'm just keep asking, telling you what I need to get done, right? But to understand all of that is where you really need to be in this process. Does that make sense? To know that it really is. I can appraise it. It's worth 7. But if I let them sell it to me for 30, but I get everything thrown in, it's going to be worth 50 when I'm done, or 100 when I'm done. You follow what I'm saying? That's the numbers you got to learn this weekend. That is what we teach you. Thank you for letting me interrupt. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dell's 100% right. And, keeping in mind, too, my signature on a piece of paper is not worth very much, but Dell's signature would be worth a whole lot more, And my business partner was a higher net worth individual, had money in the bank. So they had recourse against both of us. Me, they didn't care about. But him, they could obviously recoup if there was an issue. So there was less risk for the bank for that reason. But it was really exciting because, the very next thing was I realized we just did all the back of the napkin math on $600 rents. And I come from a family of real estate appraisers. Both my mom and dad were real estate appraisers. So I've got the whole access to running comparable sales and all of the software. And I started looking at it thinking, well, I think we could probably increase these rents to maybe $700. Oh my gosh, that's another, what is that, $7,000 a month? And that's only a $100 rent bump. I think that these rents are a little bit too low. And I think once we clean it up and there's not somebody booming music next door to you while you're trying to sleep, or somebody using drugs or selling drugs over here, they might actually be willing to pay market rent. And I was right. So it was actually pretty easy when I got it. I just handed out the 3-day notices on day 1. And I said, look, there's 2 options. Here's a notice to vacate, or here's an application. We would love to have you come lease from us. And the great thing was the people who were bad, they just left, or they didn't pay. So I think we maybe had 1 or 2 that were bad, and they wound up somehow making it through our screening process, and then we evicted them later for different stuff. So it was really pretty easy. We just evicted all the people who didn't pay, and then the ones that were left, which was very few, they were good people. We ran their credit, we ran their criminal search, checked their backgrounds. They all qualified. So we just started fixing up the units one by one. I had my crew, my contractors, and honestly, it was one of the most enjoyable things in my life was to get out there with my guys and just tear into this thing. I got to meet Joe Dana, the sheriff, who's running for sheriff now, and he came out and served all my evictions and gave me his personal cell number, and he said, I grew up, in this neighborhood. It's changed a lot. I like that you're going to bring it back and make it a better place for people. The neighbors came up and thanked me afterwards. They were like, this is amazing.
So what we're getting at here is we're not slumlords here at Lifestyles, okay? We normally buy, we try to elevate it, elevate the community, build it back, do what we need to, and go from there. Don't be scared about evictions, things like that if you're new. We will go over all the operations with you. Like I said earlier, we have operation consultants that can help you. They also go over that when you're 2-day. You'll learn all of that aspect of it. All right, so where are we currently at? Like, how much are you making on this, we're 12 years later?
Yeah, so 12 years later, you wouldn't believe this. So some of the rents that we had when we started were like in the fives, 525, I think, maybe even 480, 490 was one of the lowest ones. The highest rent I have right now is $14.95 on this property. Now, that's an upgraded unit. I went out and just, gutted the unit and made it just like a little cottage in the Heights. We've got 10 of those that are supremely upgraded, and then the rest of them are what we call our classic unit, which is just a more standard finish. So we're getting about $20,000, $19,600 a month cash flow right now on the whole property, and that's including the upgraded units as well. So essentially, I've doubled the cash flow and been able to pull money out.
This is also your cash flow, right?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I had a business partner when I bought it, and he was an older guy, and he wanted to retire. So at one point, a few years ago, I bought him out. And so now I get to do all the rehab that I want. I get to raise rents, and any increase in value goes to the bottom line for me personally. And I'm not splitting cash flow anymore, so really nice.
Right, this is, again, that's what we call it. He owns the entire thing himself now. So that $20,000 a month times 12, right? 20 times 12, like $240,000 a year, right? Carry the one, something like that. How many people could live off $240,000 a year? Most people could, all right?
Hey, bring up the point, it's also tax-free income.
Yes, this has nothing to do with taxes right now, right? This is a business inside. He's actually going to have a loss on his taxes at the end of the year because he has this thing called depreciation. So he's losing money tax-wise every year. So he's not paying a dime in taxes right now.
My employees pay more taxes than I do.
There you go. The employees on the property pay more taxes. That's the code. Now, the next line is called the annual NOI, which stands for net operating income. He did talk about comps in the area, how much things are worth, but Dell will go over that this weekend. The way you value an apartment community, I got that right. I mean, it is so proud of me, apartment community. It's not an apartment complex anymore, Dell. It's apartment community. The way we value apartment communities is we drive net operating income. If that goes up, the value of your property goes up. If that goes down, what do you think happens? Value of property goes down. So over the course, remember it started at like negative, right? It was negative when you first got it.
Oh, yeah, it was
right?
They were
giving
cash flow.
Him, the bank was giving him money because it was negative cash flow to kind of keep it afloat. Now he's up to like almost $380,000 a year annual. I mean, you put that on a what? Six cap, 6.5, 7 cap?
I think 6.5 is what I assumed.
So I think we got that earlier.
It puts it at close to $6 million.
It's close to the current valuation is close to $5.83 million.
Okay.
Who would like to have that? Amazing, right? Wait, how much did you put down on this? I forget.
No money down. I mean, it was $1,000 to start the LLC, but we could have done it for cheaper if we did it ourselves.
You definitely could have got a cheaper LLC than $1,000.
Yeah.
You got hosed.
I had to put 500. My partner put 500.
Totally got hosed on that one. No, so basically, this is an infinite amount of turn. How much do you currently have? You've distributed $1.5 million. Who did you distribute that to?
What's that?
Who did you distribute that to?
That's me and my partner. That's I think if you take 13 years at 10 grand a month, it gives you that, and that's pretty much what we've been doing.
That's amazing. So the current value, I forgot you I think we'll get there. Well, we'll get there in just a sec. But I want you guys to remember that we bought it for $1.8 million. I think that was the number. It's currently worth $5.8. One far carry the one. That's $4 million increase in 12 years. Who would do that? Wait, again, for zero money. You don't have to invest anything, right? He did have to do some work, right? You have to keep that into effect. He did find the deal. Keep that in effect. So, bravo. All right, so, ooh, that looks nasty.
Yeah, I didn't get any pictures of the burned ones, but that's the one on the left. All right.
You're this one right here.
Oh, yeah. So this is a picture of the office, what it looked like before. It had the metal gates, and it just wasn't very pretty. It was just kind of a weird
Is the
property.
office just like another house?
Yeah, it's just one of the units.
Why aren't you leasing that?
Well, then I have to go get an office somewhere.
Really? Are you 100% leased?
Yeah.
Do you need an office?
70 units, yes.
Okay.
Well, and I have a lot of other properties, too.
It's 100% occupied. There's a bunch of houses. No? All right.
Still need
but
somebody there.
I have about
The only way
70
you
other
can do it
units.
is have a mamacita manager that lives on site
Okay.
and an office out of her place, but other than that, you got to have something.
Okay.
It's
I probably will move the office when I buy another property.
that, or I'll tell you another thing we've done. Now you see, this is why multifamily is fun, guys. I'm going to blow your mind in the next 5 minutes, I guarantee you. You could just go and buy one of those little houses you see on the side of the highway when you're driving 45, and then they have those little tiny houses. You know that? What do they cost? $5,000? You take a little $5,000 house, plop it there, put another unit on. Another unit earns, what do you earn? $1,400 for the $1,400 a month times 12 is 10 would be 14,000 plus another 28 would be 16, 18,000. 18,000 at a 6.5 cap rate. You made another $200,000. You paid $5 for the place. You make $200,000 in value.
And we have a place to put them because the crackheads burned 2 houses down. We got 2 vacant lots. So we could put it in one of those vacant lots.
Then buy 2 of those little suckers.
2 of them.
Make one of them a rent house and the other one the office.
I've been thinking about it. I'm waiting for rates to come down. I'm going to do it.
Hey, you should.
I'm thinking about it. This is my sweetheart deal. I love it. Like I said, I have other properties too, other apartment complexes smaller than this, and then about 50 single-family homes. So we run a lot of business through that office. I also finance some stuff. I've done seller financing and private lending and just kind of anything I could do to make money. So I run a lot of different business through this office. But yeah, these are some great pictures now that you can see on one of the ones. This is where they removed all the plumbing. All the sheetrock is down because they were ripping the plumbing out to sell the copper for scrap. And then you can
Oh, the
see.
residents did their tearing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there.
So they were helping you with the demo, basically.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they
got
were.
it. I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Helping themselves too.
Very good.
And so that's kind of how the units turned out when I remodeled them.
Very nice.
We just kind of went overboard because I plan to keep this property for a while. It's in Independence Heights, which it was kind of scary. You know, like I had a little vest that I wore. It's like a Kevlar vest when when I first bought the place. It's like, oh, just in case, But now it's like, we've got a $150 million complex just skyrocketing right next to us and brand new houses everywhere. And now you're starting to see the Lexus and the Mercedes and the Starbucks. And so this is the kind of deal where the land is really appreciating. And so I kind of want to hold on to it forever because it's so close in. And it's in such a great area that why not just keep refinancing money out and keep operating it and keep pulling money out and keep pulling money out and keep cash flowing until eventually it'll be time to bulldoze it and build something fancy, homes.
Let's recap again where we started and where you're at right now. So year one, basically your income, these are all estimates because years 1 and 2, he really didn't remember. He was kind of ballparking it a little bit.
It's been a long time, yeah.
But first year he was losing money. We talked about that, right? The bank was lending him money to basically keep the deal afloat until he could get it to where he needed to. Year 2, it started. He'd done some rehab. He's moved some people out. You're starting to see the progress. Now in year 2023, last year, that's where he's cash flowing about almost $240,000, $235,000 a year. And that's paying out your mortgage and your capital as well. What's your current mortgage on this?
It's like around 12.
Okay, I think we're actually next one. So this is where you see the value in your property. Remember we said net operating income drives the value. So the value at I think we said 6.5 we were using?
That's what I use now.
All right, 6.5. So your property value went from 1.8 when he bought it, okay? And today it's worth $5.8 million just because he drove like $380,000 worth of NOI. Is that good? That's very good. Now let's say, for example, if he pays off the debt of 2.7, he still has $3.1 million left in the deal right now that he can tap in. That's equity in the HAP. That is regardless of what he's already taken out, right? He's already refinanced, taken out. He's cash flowing monthly. He's cash flowing annually. So what is that return if I'm 3.1 million? I've also paid out 1.5 million in cash. That's $4.7 million roughly over 12 years. And I put how much down?
$500.
We'll say $500 down.
For the LLC.
For the LLC. That's an infinite amount of return. That is amazing. Round of applause. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. All right. All right, so we talked about NOI. So what are some things you did to increase NOI, real quickly?
Yeah, so the first thing was we got a whole bunch of marketing out. We put little signs out. We had, all the businesses around. We dropped business cards. We put banners and flyers. I got a good manager. The lady they had before was like smoking cigarettes inside the office, and it was just unprofessional and gross. And so I
the stereotypical manager when you walk in there. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And so I hired a really good manager. I went to the Houston Apartment Association, and I took all of their educational classes so that I knew the same stuff that my employees knew, all the rules, regulations. We fired the full-time HPD officer because once we filled the place up with nice people, there was no more crime. There was no one was robbing or breaking into these units because it was a community of people that all kind of looked out for each other. So we didn't need the officer anymore. We started I had this special phone number where tenants could call if they had a problem, and it would go directly to my voicemail only. So I knew if the employees weren't on something, I could check up on it. So my goal was just to make the families happy, make them feel safe, make them feel like this was a community where they could feel good, raise their families. And now the problem is that nobody will move. We're always full. We keep increasing rents, but everyone knows everyone. It's a tight little community. So anyway, but we just fixed the place up. We got good signage. We kicked out the riffraff. We started surveying the residents to see, and then we would fix the things that they said. And that was pretty much it. And all the standard stuff too. We renegotiated the electricity contract. We found a better landscaping company that didn't charge as much. And we just kind of set up some good vendor relationships at prices that we thought were pretty reasonable and pretty competitive. And that just, drove the expenses down. We would go down and protest taxes to keep the tax bill down nice and low. Just all the standard stuff that, that Del teaches in the class. And it all works, you just drive the expenses down and drive the income up, and then your spread gets bigger and bigger.
Very good. I think this whole weekend, if you come, Del goes over, I forget the number, a plethora of different ways. I learned that word today, plethora, of different ways to increase NOIs. I think there's like 40, 50, I don't know, I don't remember how many, but there's several ways. You drive NOI, what happens to the value of your property? It goes up. That's on the test this weekend for you guys that are doing a little cheat. Very good. All right, so what are your, we have a quote for you. How has the lifestyles changed your life?
It's been instrumental, listening to Del on the radio for so many years, like it just burned it into my subconscious that this is possible. Regular people can do it. You can have anything you want if you do the stuff, just show up, sign the contract, talk to the person, look at the deal. You can have anything you want. And I always kind of wanted that lifestyle of where I had the money, but I still could kind of go do other stuff. And so little by little, building the single family homes and then getting into the multifamily, the day I closed on it, it changed everything. It took 6 months to lease it, maybe 9 months to finish the rehab totally. And then I was like, great, okay, I'm done now. I have a manager in place, and I would hear the phone ring all day, just like it used to ring in my ear, but I didn't have to answer it anymore. And so I told her, I said, look, I'm gonna go to Europe for like a month. You got this? Okay, cool. I'll be back in a month. And that was it.
Nice.
I was 30 years old, and suddenly I would get my $5,000 check every month, whether I was in Europe or whether I was in Houston. And then I started deciding I wanted to race mountain bikes, and then I decided I was kind of good at that, and then I decided I want to be a pro mountain biker, and now all I do is ride mountain bikes. Now I'm spending sometimes 15 to 20 hours a week training on the mountain bike, trying to get better, trying to compete in these races. I went with a friend to Austin, and we rode mountain bikes, and I saw there was a little community airport, and I was like, maybe I'll get my pilot's license one day. And then I did that. And then
Awesome.
and I was showing up at noon every day because they're like, where were you all morning? I said, well, I was learning to fly airplanes, and now I'm here at the office. I'll be here for a couple hours. So it just allowed me to chase these dreams that I had since I was a kid. These, watching Top Gun as a little kid, I was like, one day I want to be rich enough to buy an airplane. One day I want to go up and fly the loops and go upside down and do all the crazy stuff. And
I thought you had an airplane.
What's that?
Didn't you buy an airplane?
I got two now.
You got
Okay,
two.
I thought you did, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You got to look him up on Facebook, guys. He's got every toy in the world. You're a biker, you're a CrossFit, you do all kinds of stuff.
started boxing too.
Boxing too?
Boxing, mountain biking, and pilot, and real estate. So
Man,
it's
see?
fun.
It's not the money, it's a lifestyle.
It really is. It really is.
So can I ask real quick, did y'all figure out how he got to this lifestyle? What did he do to actually get to this lifestyle? He signed what? I'd tell you, he actually bought something, right? You can't get rich, you can't have the lifestyle if you don't buy something. There's so many people that are sitting in there, some of you are these people, I'm looking at you, that will just like, I'll do it next week, you're just scared to death to do anything. Just start buying a freaking house. Just buy one house. You'll be surprised what happens. But the only way he's standing here today is because he actually did it. He signed on the line. He purchased something. Real estate, Adele said earlier, was very, very, very forgiving, and it is. He is a long-term hold type of guy. He bought it. 12 years later, it's where it's at now. Said you want to keep it, go further. He's still buying. Kudos, dude. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, really good deal.
So what's next?
I want to buy more deals. I'm like the super conservative kind of guy. I want to buy when things are all screwed up and it's so cheap that I can make every mistake in the book and still succeed, kind of like I did on this one. So now I've got my habit. I only want to buy when things are cheap. But you can kind of pick how you want to do it. If you're an investor, you can decide when you want to buy. And if you want to do a case study and then it's 10 more years before you come back and do another one, you get to choose. But I do want to do more deals. I now have cash. I now have credit. I've got experience. I've got a track record. I've got banking relationships, attorney relationships, CPA relationships. So now it's kind of like, yeah, what could I do? I know brokers now. I know how to underwrite now, sort of. So it's kind of like my second chance to come back and do. So I want to do another 100 unit deal or more. I also have kind of taken kind of like Dell has done, kind of come back in and gotten real granular with my business lately. Just became kind of rejuvenated, started getting into the financials, getting into the budgets, because it's fun. When you start looking at your net worth going up, like when you bought that second or that third, or the gentleman that was at $750,000 and you see you're close to $1 million, it's exciting. I can't wait to wake up in the morning, open the laptop and think, how can I get the cash flow to $30,000 a month? Like that extra 10, that could get me a house in Colorado. That could get me a house in Austin. That could get me, the next thing. So I want to buy another, long term, I'd like to buy, 3 more deals, house in Colorado, and then eventually I would like to get a supervisor that would be able to oversee the different properties that I have and the different managers that are at those properties to give me another level of freedom and even more time back.
I want to ask you one thing. You talked about buying another 100 units, another 300 units.
Sorry, 100 was short term, 300 is long term.
100 short term, 300 long term. I don't think you really care about the number of units because you talked about the number of how amount of cash flow. So really you're wanting to buy a certain amount of units because 100 units is very different in Galleria than it is in Texas City. Would you agree? So it's not, you're not looking for 100 units. What are you really looking for? You're looking at the amount of cash flow, right?
Yeah, like another 30,000 a month in cash flow.
So that's really, the goal is not really a number of units, and sometimes people will say that. The goal is how much cash flow I need. And if I can get that with 10 units, I'll buy 10 units, right? If I can get that, if I need 1,000 units, I'll buy 1,000 units, okay? So it's not a unit type thing, it's a how much cash flow that's going to present you. That's the goal. All right, so we talk about teams a lot here. Who's on your team on this?
Curtis Haynes and Scott Van Ostren.
I think Scott's actually in the house. Another one of our mentors right here is front row.
Yep, there's Scott.
Okay, very good. And then you had some vendors, but a lot of this you did on yourself, right?
Yeah, I use HD Supply, Sherwin-Williams, but yeah, kind of all the standard stuff. A lot of trips to Home Depot in the very beginning.
Okay. All right, I think, do we have time for a couple questions? Yay, nay? Okay, yes, we'll take. How many times did you do a cash out refi?
Yeah, just once, but I have so many other properties that if I ever needed to do a little fix-up project, I could always pull off my line. I got 3 or 4 lines of credit, so a lot of sources of capital, but one refinance.